We're just in chapter 7 where it shows the fourth beast of Revelation 17 and 18. The fourth beast, he speaks out against Yahweh and the house of Yahweh, which hangs on to the prophecies and showing, we're the only ones showing that the prophecies are coming true. The Christian preachers that used to stand up against some evil, they're afraid to open their mouth about what the prophets say, and anyone can read these prophecies. They might not understand them, but they could at least see that they're coming true, the ones that have come true so far. Well, here in 11:31, we see that they destroy the temple. They destroy the house of Yahweh. They move it to Rome. Now look on down to verse 38. But in his estate, he will honor the gods of war. In his estate. This is the Vatican, of course. The fourth beast of Daniel 7, we just read it, who comes against Yahweh and the prophets. And that's exactly what they're coming against right now. It's not a new thing. As we saw, Pope John, the 23rd, he brought out the same thing. That's what the article said. Now Pope Francis is given the same letter to read in this time period, saying, forget about the prophecies. Forget about the prophets. Forget about the Savior Yeshua. Put a God in his place, an evil God in his place. Follow the gods. You won't die. That's what Satan said. They're dying all over the world, as you can see, but you won't die. But in his estate he will honor the gods of wars, gods Elohim, unknown to his fathers. He will honor with gold and silver and precious stones and pleasant things. This is what he will do in the strongest fortresses with a strange God, which he will acknowledge and increase with glory, and he will cause them to rule over many and will divide the land for gain. Did you see that? Divide, and this is what he's doing right now. This is what the Vatican is doing and sent the Pope to do. 70 nations voted with him in order to do this. He's not just dividing it to bring peace. He's dividing this for gain. This is Daniel 11 and verse 39 is what we just read, verse 39. And at that time of the end, get that, verse 40, at that time of the end. So he divides this land for gain in this end time prophecy. At the time of the end, the king of the south will push at him. I'll explain all of that in the future. Look on over to verse 45. And he will plant the dwellings of his palaces between the seas and the glorious holy mountain, yet he will come to his end, and none will help him. This is shown in Revelations 18. A 1 hour burning that's going to take place. That will end. That will end it right there. He will plant his dwelling. Now look at verse 1 of 12. And at that time, the time of the end, at that time of the end, and I don't have that latest translation, which this is terribly distranslated, but you'll just have to make do. I don't have it with me. There will be a time of trouble, such as never was. That's what Yeshua said, that for this generation. And at that time your people will be delivered. Everyone who is found written in the book. That's taking place right now. As we speak, as we bring this out on the radio waves that was created That is, Yahweh had use of it all along, but he gave us use to it through a mechanical type way. We can't command the waves as the radio waves as Yahweh sets them by law, but through a mechanical way of the computer, the increase in knowledge, we can use them to our advantages. Found written in the book, verse 2, and many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth will awake. That's the time of the resurrection that Yeshua spoke of. Will awake, some to everlasting life, some to shame and everlasting contempt, because they left the garden, left the habitation, the house. And those who are wise will shine. Those who are teachers will shine as the brightness of the heavens. And those who turn many to righteousness. That should be the reason that you're here, is to turn many to righteousness. That's the reason for all of us to be here. If you come here for a different reason, if you come here to get your songs heard in the house of Yahweh, you came here for the wrong reason. And you probably won't stay long. But if you come here to seek Yahweh, let me see, is that it? No. If you come here to seek Yahweh, seek salvation at His house wasn't here before this generation. His house was destroyed, as Daniel said it would be. The army would stand on his part. They would destroy it. All the things would be moved to Rome, beyond Babylon. Yes, beyond Babylon, moved to Rome, where they could take back the name Catholic, which they had before. Take back the name Catholic. That's they were Coptic Catholic, Egypt Catholic, and then they moved to Rome. Now they're Roman Catholic. But they destroyed the temple. They destroyed what they called the temple. They had already changed the name from House of Yahweh to Temple. They didn't destroy it. They moved it. Every stone was removed. And, of course, all the artifacts inside the house of Yahweh was moved. All of that is a matter of history of Titus, the son of Vespasian, who was also a butcher of the saints of Yahweh. They moved it to Rome, and that's where it stands today. And the Vatican, which is the city of Rome that leads the kings of the earth, Revelation 17:18, he's the leader of the kings, religions of the earth. It's more like a forceful rule instead of lead. He rules them, and they find ways to overcome them. And, of course, they use the armies, the winds of war. They're using that to get their way, and have for years. The Roman army they owned. They don't own these, but they got control over them. They got control over the United States. The Vatican has control, much control here in the United States. The passing of the sodomy law through the Supreme Court should show anyone that. They control the schools, what can be taught in the schools and what can't be taught in the school. They control the courts of the United States. They're the ones that pass the laws for the United States. They're men in Congress and the governments of the United States. All the municipal system is run by the Vatican. They're the ones that pass the laws because they control the law passers in the United States. And if someone steps out of line, they merely squash him. They have records of his life from birth on, and they search those records. They searched my record when they were trying to destroy the house of Yahweh. You know what? It was clean. No flaws. No flaws. Never been charged with a crime in his life. Yes, but they searched it. And that's the way they do all the politicians. And they say, now that everyone, by the time he reaches the age of a certain age, 18 I believe it is, he could go to prison for life. And they have those records. Not that they send them, but they got the records on them so they can reveal it when they want to. This is how they keep control. Years ago, I was reading how the Vatican had the greatest news organization on earth, and from Vatican City. Well, of course, they have advanced in the computers more than the world. There's the ones, in fact, that built them, and the large ones. And I brought this out in the Mark of the Beast. The number of those, by the way, for a computer is 666, the same as the name, the same as the Pope. 666, which shows the mark of the beast, 666. All of this works together, and we're seeing it now displayed right now where he's dividing the land for gain. After that comes the destruction, of course. This was held back, this Oslo Accord was held back to keep it from bringing forth the war. This is going to bring war. It's not going to bring peace. But it's their plan, and this is not a chance that somebody's going to take and cause war. It's a planned war, as you can see this. It's planned out to where it will come back in at a certain time, and then it alone then will start stirring up trouble, and wars will break out, and then they will get, all of a sudden, someone will start using the nuclear, and this is where the great burning will take place very soon. You got from now till it does to study and catch up. I would suggest you read the book of Job and try to start practicing this. If you haven't read it already, read it. And then we will get back to this hopefully next week, the great deception here, the dividing for gain, and of course the nuclear wars that will burn the earth. May Yahweh bless you, and I'll turn the services back to the next leader. I love you.